Yo, welcome back everybody to the Doggy Apps channel. And today we're going to be talking about why the dollar dominance is far from over. Okay, let's get this started. So, I'm talking to you guys all at a Bitcoin price of 63,242. And our Bitcoin market cap is currently at 1.285 trillion freaking dollars. Let's get started. So, where we're at. Stablecoins are not just another crypto product. They may be how the US dollar preserves its hegemony in a digital world. And that is the frame for this whole video. Because most people still look at stablecoins like they're just some side quest inside of crypto. Or they're just part of crypto. But if you actually zoom out, this is not what it looks like. So to me, this is not really a crypto story first. It is a monetary power story. It's a story about what happens when the world modernizes, but the dollar refuses to give up its place at the center. And this is why Bitcoin matters here. Because if the system is actively evolving new rails to preserve dollar demand, then Bitcoin is not competing with something static. It's competing with a dollar system that is trying to upgrade itself in real time. So, stable coins plus the banking threat. Okay, now let's take this a step further, right? If stablecoins are just digital dollars on faster rails, then they don't only matter for crypto traders. They matter for the entire plumbing of the financial system. Stablecoins are designed to keep a stable value against assets like the US dollar, and some industry commentary now describe them as digital dollars moving over internet native payment rails. That matters because the old banking system, right, as we know, was built around gatekeeping movement, settlement, and access. But if I can hold dollar tokens and move it instantly on digital rails, then the wrapper around the dollar starts to matter less than the dollar itself. That is not a threat. That is not banks disappearing overnight, but that is the part that makes banks special, like special banks, like they start to get unbundled. So your bank account was special, the branch was special, the transfer window was special, the settlement delay was special. And now some of that gets compressed into software. So from the state's perspective, stablecoins are actually quite useful. They let the dollar modernize without rebuilding the whole monetary system from scratch. And from Bitcoin's perspective, this is important because it shows you that the incumbent system knows it has to adapt, and if it doesn't, it'll get left behind. So it knows money needs to move faster, and now it wants the dollar to be the thing that moves on those rails. So here's a little clip of our boy JB Diamond getting pressed about Brian Armstrong, CEO of Coinbase. And I honestly like Brian Armstrong. I like his mission. So let's watch what he has to say. Let's skip to.
So are you happy with the way? Okay.
But it will be fought. This will not be. No one's going to bow down to this guy, okay, or that company. And he's the only one, and he's spending hundreds of millions of dollars in marketing this thing.
He's representing the whole.
It's full of shit.
Well, we're gonna watch out.
He's pressed, bruh. He's pressed. He's scared. He's shaking. He's nervous. Okay, I digress. But dollar export via stablecoins. So this is the core mechanism. How do you export dollar power into a modernizing world? So you wrap the dollar in software. Recent analysis says more than 99% of stablecoin value is tied to the US dollar, while the Richmond Fed commentary says roughly about 90% of those cases are dollar linked. So when people say the world is digitizing, tokenizing, and moving into a new financial rails, the key question is still digitizing into what? And as of now, a huge part of the answer is the dollar. So that is why I call this the dollar export, because because the dollar no longer has to travel only through old bank pipes, aka the Swift system. It can travel through apps, it can travel through wallets, through exchanges, and it can even travel through internet native payment systems. And every time that happens, dollar demand gets a new distribution channel. That itself is the signal. The signal is not just that the stablecoins exist. The signal is that the system seems comfortable with digital dollars scaling, but because digital dollars can preserve and help preserve that dollar reach in a world that is becoming more online, more global, and more instant. And this is why Bitcoin And why Bitcoin cares is so simple. If the dollar can keep reinventing its rails, then Bitcoin is not valuable because fiat is old. Bitcoin is valuable because it offers a different type of monetary foundation altogether. And as you can see here, I have a little screenshot that shows Yahoo Finance saying that stablecoin transactions soared 72% in 2025, hitting $33 trillion in volume. Right? That's absolutely nuts. So we already know that these stablecoins are moving, and we already know that these stablecoins are actually being used, because $33 trillion is a lot of money. It is a lot of money. So, wait, I think my slides got messed up here. Okay, yeah. So now let's make this even more practical, because the next step is not just stablecoins existing on exchanges, right? The next step is stablecoins getting embedded into the apps that people use every day. Reports in 2025, according to CNBC, said that Amazon and Walmart were exploring these stablecoins partly to cut payment costs, speed settlement, and potentially bypassing part of the traditional banking and card infrastructure. And this is where it actually gets big, because if Amazon can hold a dollar balance for you inside the app, and Walmart can hold a dollar balance for you inside the app, and Target eventually can do the same, then most people stop thinking about stablecoins like it's some separate crypto thing. They start to think about them like this is app money. So wallet infrastructure companies are already being embedded into wallets, branded stablecoins, and stablecoin powered payment products for businesses, while commercial wallet adoption keeps expanding beyond crypto native apps. So that means that convenience actually goes up, because you already shop there, you already trust the interface, you already keep payment methods on file. Now you can literally keep your whole balance there too, and balance that gets paid with higher APY than most banks actually give you. And the corporate lockup goes up at the same time, because if your money sits inside the app, then your spending loop stays inside the app too. So some adoption commentary says consumers want stablecoins to feel like normal payments and not just some type of stablecoin wallet in an existing bank or a fintech app. So this is not just about faster checkout, it's about making digital dollars that feel more native inside these crypto ecosystems. And once that happens, the dollar is not just exported through finance, it's literally embedded into consumer behavior. So like even any app where you quote unquote hold a balance or you connect your own wallet, stablecoins can literally be embedded in those, right? And that's what moves it from just crypto native payments into literally just a payment system. Like people will start to forget, like, oh, it's literally just a payment system. So the problem here is we have to zoom out a little more, because we're entering a human deflation era. Because I don't think that this story stops at payments. I think that this story connects to the kind of world that we're all moving into. A world with more automation, more software, more digital delivery, and more things that can scale with that more things that can scale without the same human labor bottlenecks. And at the same time, birth rates are declining across all over the world, which reporting saying that fertility is now below replacement in most of the world and has fallen steadily in both rich and poor countries. So this is not just a technology story, but this is also a demographic story. And a lot of these countries are going to be dealing with these fewer births, older populations, and other pressure on the working age base over time. So this kind of creates like a weird tension. On one side, we have technology pushing towards abundance, but on the other side, society still needs output, services, and economic activity to keep the system stable. So that is why I keep coming back to this idea of human deflation era. Not necessarily like deflation in the regular clean textbook sense, but I mean like a world where more output can be created with less human scarcity in certain areas. So how long does it take to have a working human? Like for a human to join the working class, what is the minimum required waiting time? What is the minimum required age that these humans need to be before they can actually work? In some countries it's 15, some countries 16, right? 16 years is a pretty long time. But by having AI and automation, you can literally do that in hours, maybe even like a few years, right? Because like we all know, like with ChatGPT, what we all use it in 2022, bro, it was like it's a little baby. But now if you use AI and you use like all these frontier models, dude, they're insane. So and that was what, 3 years. So as technology, as the AI and the technologies get even better, that gap starts to close. So what do we get? We get more intelligence on tap, more digital labor, more cost compression, and fewer people in a lot of places that to do the same work the old way. So that raises the pressure to lean harder on automation and AI. And if the world keeps arriving, then governments and monetary systems will want tools that help keep these spending liquidity and monetary relevance alive. Stablecoins fit into that world. They make the dollar more adaptable. They make the system more portable, and Bitcoin matters because it gives people a place to step outside that adaptive fiat logic. So let's look at these beautiful charts that I have. So as you can see here on the left, we have U.S. birth rates hitting a record low in 2025. Like, look at this. We're literally below the replacement rate, right? And as you can see on the right, we have these major AI companies, like these major tech companies, having massive layoffs. Like some can say that these companies they overstaffed, but the way I see it is, yes, they may have overstaffed, but they're also pushing and they are also moving towards an automation based and AI based system, right? You see here, look at Oracle, 30,000 reported layoffs. Amazon 16,000. Block 4,000. Isn't that like it's starting to happen, man? Like these companies are forcing their their companies to become more lean, and that's how it is, man. Because technology is getting a lot better. Okay, so now we're gonna talk about dollar obfuscation. So this is where the conversation gets a little deeper because most people actually do not actually measure wealth correctly. I think they measure wealth and they measure wealth in numbers in dollar terms. The house went up, the stock went up, the salary went up. But the harder question is whether your purchasing power actually improved or whether the measuring stick itself got weaker. So this is where fiat can hide. It can blur the line between normal gains and real gains. It can make people feel richer because the number is bigger, but even if the unit underneath it is doing a lot less work over time. And that matters because once you understand that, you start to see stablecoins differently too. Stablecoins here are not fixing the issue. They're actually digitizing the issue. They're making dollars convenience a lot better. They make dollar movement better, but they still preserve the same old dollar frame. And Bitcoin matters because it forces you to ask a much cleaner question. Do I want better dollars or do I want better rails? Or do I want a different monetary system entirely? So, as you can see here on the left, we have the median US house valued at $470,000. But your gold, 96 ounces, and Bitcoin, 6.6 Bitcoin. All equal one home. The average medium home. And the way I look at it is 10 years ago, that same $420,000 house costed what? 100 Bitcoin? But now, 10 years later, it only costs 6 Bitcoin. So, as you can tell, Bitcoin actually didn't only preserve the buyer's purchasing power, it actually increased it while the dollar did less. You got my point. And on the right here, we have the S&P 500 valued in dollars at 7,500, and then the gold equivalent 1.73, but the Bitcoin equivalent at 0.118 BTC. Like same story, same old story, bro. Okay, so let's talk about a little bit of Bitcoin philosophy, and this is where Bitcoin itself gets separated because it is not interesting to me because it is flashy. It is more interesting because it asks something more fundamental. What should money truly be? Should money be endlessly adjustable so that a system can patch over every new problem? Or should a money be something harder, something that forces clarity back into the system? This is why Bitcoin changes behavior. When people think that the money they hold can preserve purchasing power over time, they stop thinking and they stop looking at money like a melting ice cube. They think longer, they spend more carefully, they save with more intention. They stop assuming that the answer to every structural problem is more liquidity and more monetary engineering. And we know that has been happening so much in our lifetimes, especially as Gen Zers, right? And that is why I start to think Bitcoin and stablecoins should not be confused. Stablecoins modernize the dollar, but Bitcoin challenges the need for dollar dependence in the first place. So stablecoins are not an upgrade to the current system. Bitcoin is an alternative to the logic of that system. And closing. So, when I look at this whole picture, I don't see stablecoins just as another crypto narrative. I see them as a signal that dollar systems understand that the world is changing and wants to remain the center of gravity while everything goes digital. And that itself is the transition. And the opportunity is understanding what game you're actually being played, what story you're being told. Because if stablecoins keep spreading through wallets, apps, and payments, then dollar hegemony does not have to die just because technology changes. It can adapt, it can export itself, it can embed itself into our everyday lives. And Bitcoin is still the most important contrast in that picture because it is not trying to help the old measuring stick survive. Bitcoin is offering a new one. Watch the stablecoin growth. You gotta watch the wallet layers. You gotta watch how the dollar keeps trying to modernize. And know that Bitcoin matters even more when the incumbent system gets smarter. So, I hope y'all enjoyed this video, and I will continue to be making these if y'all enjoy it, right? Once the community gets big enough, we will start doing these live, and we'll be able to do Q&A together and have a lot more fun where you guys will be able to ask me questions in real time, and I'll be able to help you understand the way I understand Bitcoin, the way I see Bitcoin, right? So please, please, please like and subscribe and comment on what other Bitcoin topics you'd be interested in. See you in the next one. Ciao!